Good afternoon and welcome to our latest Senderos webinar, today featuring our partner Polar Latitudes. Despite what it may say on your screen and the fact that I know I need a haircut, no, I'm not Nicola, I'm her colleague Gareth at Senderos. For quite a few years now, we've had the privilege of working with the excellent Antarctic expedition cruise specialist Polar Latitudes, which was started and is still run by a highly respected team with a wealth of experience operating in Antarctica. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Connie Bartle, who was once an unsuspecting paying passenger with her mum on a Polar Latitudes voyage and was so smitten with them, and Antarctica of course, that she's been working for them ever since. Today Connie is Polar Latitudes European Sales Manager, also working on board for several departures each Antarctic season. Connie's presentations will be split into first a more technical part, followed especially for those who aren't so familiar with the region, with some more general information about the different seasons, wildlife, etc. In the meantime, please do send us any questions you have using the chat option or save these up till after Connie's presentation. Over to you, Connie. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the intro, Gareth. And thanks to all of you for joining today's webinar. Again, I'm going to try to make it as interesting as possible. Like Gareth said, there will be the first part, which will be a little bit more technical, a little bit more product training. And then in the second part, after the Q&A, we will go more into the actual destination. So it's my great pleasure. Usually I am on board at this time of the year. I usually spend 2 to 3 months working on the ships. So unfortunately, I can't be there because of the situation. So at least this is an opportunity for me to talk about my great passion, which is Antarctica, ever since I've, first explored it 6 years ago. So I'm going to actually quickly stop my video because I want you to just focus on the slides, and then I'm going to switch my video back on for the Q&A. So I'm going to dive straight into it. Polar Latitudes is, let me just, oh my God, for whatever reason, sorry, I'm going to reshare because it didn't work. Sorry, this is always, there we go. Okay, so sorry for that. We are experts in small ship expedition cruising. We have 2 small ships. One is the MSC Venture, which is very excited we're very excited because this ship is joining us from this coming season. And most of you would be aware that the MS Island Sky has been with us for a number of seasons. She will not be with us for this coming season, but then coming back to us from 22-23. So the MSC Venture is, a lot of you may know this ship from the look. She's been around, especially in the polar expedition cruising world for many years. We're very excited because it's actually the first ever purpose-built expedition ship for the polar regions. So it's a perfect ship for us. She will hold 139 passengers, which is a little bit more than the Island Sky with 114. But a lot of new ships are coming onto the market at the moment, and they're around the 200 passenger capacity. So these 2 ships are really still in the small ship category, especially for Antarctica. So those are our 2 ships, and I'm going to just focus quickly on a few sort of highlights of each of the ships. Why we love these 2 ships, just sort of, for you to understand possibly, selling features and stuff like that. So the Sea Venture has the highest possible ice class for any passenger ship in the industry. So this means that we can now access some of the spots that we weren't able to in the past. For those of you who know Antarctica, the Weddell Sea or the Le Maire Channel, which is usually very densely iced in, especially in the early season. A lot of passenger ships, if you're not an icebreaker, they cannot access these areas. And with this 1A super ice class, we can now do that. We can now guarantee trips into the Weddell Sea, which is super, super, super exciting for us. Also, the ship is faster than a lot of other ships. 16 knots doesn't possibly mean a lot, but it will hopefully gain us quite a number of hours during the Drake passage, and also repositioning the ship between sort of landing sites when we go from one point to another. Now, citizen science is something that is very big for us. I'm going to focus and speak about it in a little bit at depth, but the MSc Venture has a dedicated citizen science lab, which is super for us because it means that we can actually get more people engaged in these super popular programs. So that's something that this ship will have. And 2 side platforms for Zodiac landing. Again, for those of you who have been on expedition ships, it's all about getting people on and off the ship as quickly and as efficient as possible. These 2 side platforms will enable us to do so. We will have 14 Zodiacs, so we can still get everyone off the ship in one go, which is really, really important. And again, these side platforms, a lot of the times if there is swell, and it does happen in Antarctica, we can reposition the ship and then just use one one of the platforms that's on the lee side, which, you know, is also very important for the safety standards. In terms of the sort of look and feel, the cabins are, clean, slick kind of design, very comfortable. They're not over the top luxury. That's not us. We're, an expedition company. So that's not what we sort of focus on. But the upper decks 6 and 7 on the Sea Venture have private balconies, which is obviously great. Now to the Island Sky. Why we love this ship so much is for all of her outdoor access. So 3 of the 6 decks have direct access from the room to the outdoor. So the upper decks, again, 5 and 6 have private balconies, and deck 4 is actually, there's sliding doors directly onto this wraparound deck. So if there's, let's say, a whale sighting and there's an announcement, people literally just get up, slide their doors, and they can go to wherever on the ship this viewing is best seen from. So this is really, it sort of brings people closer to Antarctica, and we love this ship for those kind of reasons. Also, on the top of the ship, deck 6, there's an observation platform that gives you sort of an eagle eye perspective from up top, which is wonderful. Again, if there's orcas in the distance or some beautiful scenery. And again, along with the other outdoor spaces is our outdoor dining option. And I know, people think it's too cold to dine outside, and but a lot of the times it is actually quite pleasant. And if the weather is favorable, we have the option to serve, for example, a lunch or a barbecue outside, which is wonderful because you can watch all the scenery drift by, and it's just absolutely magnificent. It adds to the experience. The Island Sky is all suites. They're very spacious. So this one is the lead-in category. For example, it's 21 square meters, which is massive. Again, the sliding doors to deck 4, just wanted to point out they're actually tinted. So there is some privacy. People are not just gonna, walk by your door and look in. And again, the private balconies on the upper decks. Now, in terms of the actual amenities on board for both of the ships, we now offer an open bar, so all drinks, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, are going to be included. In the past, we only had beer and wine during dinner service. Moving forward, people can drink any time of the day if they wish. Also, their mini bars will be restocked on both ships, so that's all included. It makes it easy, and it's quite clear. Then in terms of sort of coffee, tea, snacks, hot chocolate, all of that is available at any given point in time of the journey. Sea chefs are our sort of crew. The kitchen brigade is amazing. There's really amazing food. And then at least on the Sea Venture, you can work off the extra kilos in the gym. The Sea Venture also has a sauna, which is, again, something that we never had in the past. So those are nice to have, but it shouldn't distract really from why we're down there, which is obviously the destination. Quickly to the activities that we offer. The first one is kayaking and then camping. Those are our adventure options. They are at a charge. You buy into the program. They're commissionable. The kayaking is very popular, so we increased the program. There will be 30 people that can join on Sea Venture and 16 on Island Sky. The age limit is 16 years of age. You don't necessarily need previous paddling experience, but what we do require is people need to be able to swim. So that's a requirement. And the way the program works, we do try and offer it every single time that we do have an excursion. So there will be a briefing to the people in the program, and they will be given the choice to either, do a landing or go paddling. Sometimes we combine it. And yes, we try and offer it as often as possible, depending on obviously the weather and ice conditions, which that dictates everything. The only place we cannot offer it is the Falkland Islands on the FSG itinerary, because we only actually have 2 days in the Falklands, and we feel people would really miss out on the experience there if we did offer paddling instead of the excursion. Onto camping. So this little lady is in a bivy bag. We also have tents, but it's sort of a mixture. And people can, on the Sea Venture, we have increased the program to 40 people, and on Island Sky, it can be 30 people. Again, both of these programs sell out. There's always waiting lists, of course, but if you have somebody who's interested to do one of the activities or both, I would highly suggest to book them as soon as possible. Now on to citizen science. This is, again, a very big topic for us. I would actually say we are the leaders in this, in the industry. We've been running these citizen science programs for over 10 years. We've established a lot of them for, the industry. So what it does is actually it entails collecting data in the field for research institutes that we partner with. So we partner, for example, with NASA, or with Scripps Institute, which is one of the leading institutes for oceanography. And obviously these institutes cannot go down to Antarctica as often as we do to collect their own sampling. It would be way too costly. So they engage us and we engage the guests to help collect. Here in this photo is Annette. She's our citizen science lead. You can see a bucket behind her. So they went off in a small group and did some phytoplankton sampling. So they discuss, you know, what it entails. And again, on the Sea Venture, we have a lab. So we would come back and actually analyze the samples and stuff like that. So it's a complementary program. There's probably 8 or 10 different programs by now that people can participate. They can participate in all of them or none of them, depending on, you know, what they feel like. But we usually find, you know, as soon as we introduce the programs on board, people are super curious because it really gets them engaged and it makes it a more active holiday. So it's super fun. I actually had last year somebody say to me, you know, he's like, oh, I never liked science in high school or university, but now I'm 60 years old and I can actually I actually see how fun science can be. So, you know, that was nice to hear. So that's citizen science. And then photography is a big topic in Antarctica. So we have a photo coach who offers sort of free advice to anyone that, you know, needs it. Obviously, lots of grays and whites and, you know, moving animals. So it's a bit of a challenge to, you know, to take photos oftentimes. So this person is there as a mentor, a photo coach. Yeah, he or she is always very high in demand. Now, why polar latitudes? What makes us different? What sets us apart? Antarctica is really all that we do. As Gareth mentioned, we are true specialists because it's the only destination that we operate in. We don't do the Arctic. We don't do any other destination. We only focus on Antarctica. Also, our company is founder owned and operated, which means that it is very likely that you will see our CEO driving Zodiacs down in Antarctica. All of the owners are heavily involved. They always have a finger on the pulse, which really gives us the edge to be ahead. We focus on the destination. Really, Antarctica is front and center for us. We are not a cruise, we're an expedition. So, you know, we don't focus on after dinner shows on the ship. You know, for us, it's really about maximizing Antarctica, maximizing the education and the excursions, getting off the ship as often and as long as possible every single day. So this is really what we're about. We do pride ourselves in finding super, super passionate guides. So in this picture here, you see Seb, who is one of our long-standing staff members. He is one of our historians. Here he is in South Georgia, which is the final place of Shackleton's epic expedition. And he's actually wearing you know, these authentic clothing that Shackleton used to wear, something like this, telling the story. So he's really, you know, bringing the story to life, which is absolutely wonderful. So for us, really, you know, we have experts. So the expedition team is made up of specialists, meaning we don't really have people as, you know, general naturalists. Everyone has an expertise, whether it's geology or marine mammals, or in Seb's case, history. And then they sort of add their knowledge and their passion and their personality to the role, which, you know, is just wonderful. And then in terms of the interaction, so the team, everyone in the team will always dine with guests. So for lunch and dinner, these guides will join different tables, so people can ask questions and really get to know the teams. How did you come to be working this kind of job? And people are super curious, so there's a real personal connection that is being built. And one of the if not the number one comments in our feedback form at the end of the voyage is really this crazy sense of camaraderie that develops over the course of a voyage. And a lot of the times there's like social media accounts that are swapped at the end, and people really stay in touch beyond that, because again, everyone knows everyone in the team after the course of the trip. So it's wonderful to see. Once again, this is a big selling point for Polar Latitudes, the citizen science, again, getting people really actively engaged. Here you can see these passengers, doing some water sampling on the Drake, and it's just fun. It's really engaging, and people really love it. So it's a big part for us. In terms of luxury, what we say is, it's not about some butler service or something like that for us. For us, it's about these really small moments of sort of surprise and delight. So when you're frozen and you come back from, an excursion, and, the crew is waiting with hot towels for your hands, or, you're on a Zodiac cruise and all of a sudden another Zodiac shows up and hands you, some hot chocolate. It's these kind of unscripted little moments where people go, oh my God, this is amazing, and they will talk about this for, literally years to come, which is wonderful. So this is, for us, is luxury, really the small things. Another example is we offer what we call silent Zodiac cruises. So there's always people that get super excited when they see wildlife, or, and they're chatting away. And then there's others who would prefer to just enjoy the serenity, the silence, the peace. So, then we can offer, a Zodiac cruise for people who would just like to listen to the silence. So, it's these kind of things that really make a difference for people. And last but not least, of course, safety is absolute paramount for us. And we are one of the very few companies that actually require the expedition team to be double certified. So we need them to be marine certified, but then also they need to have a certification in polar guiding. So it really sort of adds, that next level, and it really shows our dedication to what we're trying to achieve. Now, in terms of just, the booking process, so everyone should have a login for our website. Everything goes via our website. If you don't have a login and you'd like to be registered, just drop me an email and I can sign you up. And then you can access our live availability. So here is a screenshot of, sort of showing all of the upcoming voyages. They are refreshed and sort of uploaded, refreshed every 2 minutes. And then you can just simply check, the availability. So it takes you to the next sort of screen, showing the itinerary and exactly the cabins that are available. So in this case, for example, on the left, you see veranda 602, and then you can actually look on the right, there's a deck plan, and you can see exactly where on the ship this cabin will be placed. So you can really, some people are more pedantic about being in the center of the ship, and, obviously all of the cabins are facing outwards. But yeah, so you can actually select your preferred cabin. So then you can click make a reservation at the bottom. You simply enter your preferred cabin number, first, last name, and gender. And then you can place a reservation. And then it will just simply hold this one cabin for you for 1 week until the deposit would be due to confirm the booking. Now, also on our website are what we call the agent resources. So in case you need sort of day-by-day itinerary descriptions, or your sales documents, or you would like to update your website with images, or your social media with video resources, all of that can be found within our agent resource center, and everything can be downloaded. So that again is via the website, and you require a login for that. In terms of what's actually included, so we include 2 nights at a hotel before the voyage starts. In our case, it's the Arakur Hotel in Ushuaia. And I would like to highlight 2 nights because most other voyages only have 1 pre-night included. The reason why we include 2 nights is simply because we've been operating for over a decade, and Argentina is not always 100% reliable with flights and luggage and all of that. So it just offers a little bit more peace of mind. People have come a long way, and they can ease into the voyage. And again, Ushuaia, there's a few things you can do. Obviously, if somebody would just like to take advantage of 1 night, that's fine as well. The only exception that we have, I said 2 nights in Ushuaia. The only exception is the very, very first trip of the season, where we actually leave from Puerto Madryn. So we would have 1 night there, and then the last night also in Ushuaia, but it still includes 2 hotel nights. All ground transfers, so as soon as you arrive at the airport, from then on, everything is included. All the bus transfers to and from the airport, the hotel, back to the airport, so all of that. Again, food and drink on board. Also, an expedition jacket, very high quality. Shackleton Company is the one that we use. It retails for over, I think, £250. It's wind and waterproof. Again, this can be kept by the guests, and we also provide boots on loan. So they're given out on board. Citizen science and photo coach I talked about. Another sort of resource that's super important for people when they get on board, if there's any requests, any inquiries, they don't know who to turn to in the expedition team. We actually have somebody who is just handling, sort of the service elements of the voyage. So this is the passenger service manager. We pioneered this position, and that person is usually kept very, very busy. So just all the little things, but it's great for people to know who to turn to. In terms of internet, I mean, we do sort of encourage people to switch off. This is a place that really lends itself where you just disconnect, especially from, today's crazy, online world. But, reality is that people want to upload a picture here and there, or connect with their friends or family back home. So we do have public computers. They have free Wi-Fi, and we also give out a data pack to a special data size, and then additional data packs can then be purchased on board. Now, in terms of payment terms and conditions, the deposit to actually confirm a booking is $1,500 per person. And then super easy, the rest of the money is then due 120 days before sailing. Cancellations apply at various stages. So all of this is on our website. I'm not gonna just read it out now. And obviously a very hot topic at the moment is the COVID policy. You know, what happens if we cancel, if the client cancels. Now, bear with me. Here we this is currently under review because you know, obviously it's very fluid. So we will actually have another review and a final decision in about 2 or 3 weeks. So you know, this may soon change. So just, you know, bear with me on that. But I did want to point out that Polar Latitudes was the very first company last year who decided to cancel the season, essentially, because we did not think it was safe. And we also were the first to include the 120% credit. So anyway, that sort of concludes I'm gonna start my video again. That sort of concludes the technical part, the product training. Yes?
Sorry, Connie, maybe I could interject there just before,
yes,
in
please.
case we lose anybody now who's familiar with Antarctica, before you talk a little bit about the general side of how the operation works. I just wanted to emphasize really that from my trip, and also from the feedback we see, it's clear that the Polar Latitudes are so popular, not just with their clients, but also with their tour operator clients here. I think that's down to this incredible attention to detail, meticulous really. What's fantastic about the operation is that it seems so effortless. The way this camaraderie you spoke about before, it is just, I found it overwhelming how popular and how together everybody felt at the end. There were standing ovations, several on the last night, where we all got together and they did a sort of a debrief, as they do every night, but on the final one. And it was really quite touching how popular not just the expedition team, but also the fantastic staff, most of them Philippine, but it's an international team. And it's just is very impressive the way John, the CEO, has chosen his team to get this chemistry. Obviously, also, I'd say it's important to note that they are totally client-focused. The mindset, including, and an example of this is what Connie does a lot of the time with this customer service manager on board. It's all about snipping anything in the bud. If there's any sort of issue which isn't completely to someone's satisfaction, they are persuaded or they're encouraged to discuss it with the customer service manager. And that way, I think that prevents any issues arising. I just wanted to say that I have to say they are a fantastic company. We get really great feedback. And although they're not so well known as, you know, some of the bigger companies with more ships, they are very popular with those companies and those people who know them. I just wanted to put that in to blow Polar Latitude's own trumpet, as Connie probably doesn't feel she should be. Over to you, Connie.
Anyway, do we want to take questions now quickly? Anything in regards to more the technical part? Does anyone?
If anyone has any questions, I think that's a good opportunity to do it in case not everybody wants to stay for the rest. Otherwise, we can do that at the end as well. Okay, I don't see any questions, so shall we just carry on?
Sure. I'll stop again. All right, and then we continue. Let me just... so more on the destination itself. We have a few different itineraries. So we've got the Antarctic Peninsula, so different lengths, so 12 to 15 days usually. And then we've got the Falkland, South Georgia, Antarctica itinerary, which is usually about 3 weeks long. So this one, the very first one in the season, as I mentioned, starts from Puerto Madryn, goes to Falklands, then South Georgia, and back to Ushuaia. The rest of the season, this itinerary also starts and finishes in Ushuaia. But those are sort of the main itinerary. And then our Crossing the Circle itinerary it happens later on in the season, and we go further south than we would otherwise earlier in the season. And that's the Crossing the Antarctic Circle one, which is also 15 days. Now, in terms of the guest journey, just quickly, so most of the time people will arrive in Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in Argentina. Most people come via Buenos Aires. And then it's on to the Drake. So we have about 2 days on the Drake, give and take. It's quite famous. There is many stories around, Drake crossings. It has a reputation of sometimes being, particularly bad, rocking and rolling. But I can assure you, you can also be very lucky and have the Drake Lake, which is, completely calm waters. And sometimes actually people have been disappointed when they didn't get the, the famous Drake shake. So it's quite fun. But in any case, it's super, super safe. And what the Drake days, those 2 days sailing, allow us to do is watch wildlife. I mean, there's albatross, there's all these different seabirds that we sort of, observe from decks, but then it's also about the learning part of the expedition, the presentations on all kinds of, subjects. So, the early history and the explorers, the, geology, the glaciology, obviously the wildlife. So people are really have this opportunity to be prepared slowly for what is about to come in those days when they're down in Antarctica, which is amazing. And the same applies for, the Falklands, South Georgia. We would then talk about the Falklands on the way to the Falklands and then to South Georgia. So it really is amazing this time. And again, it creates this bonding time that Gareth also alluded to. So obviously there's companies that offer fly cruises, which you do save those times. But again, for us, we wouldn't want to miss this time because we think it's super valuable what you actually gain in that time. And it's part of it. It's absolutely part of an expedition, I think. and then it's Antarctica. It's everything that it should be. It's icebergs, it's glaciers. So we get people off the ship, walking, hiking, exploring penguin colonies, and sometimes historical bases, and of course, then. It's all about the wildlife encounters, ultimately. I mean, just these whales so close up, penguin chicks coming up to you. It's just, I mean, there's no place like it on Earth. So I'm going to show a quick video. It's very sort of natural, just what it looks like. A little bit, a few of our expedition team comment to it. Hopefully it will play. Let's just see.
Hello and welcome, folks, to Antarctica. You made it. So welcome, folks. Lay of the land here. Plenty of Gentoo penguins back there. Obviously the crab-eater seals in the ice floe over there. There's a whale swimming around just behind that. So lots of stuff happening.
We'll do a lecture and we'll talk about penguin feeding, and then when you get into the field, it's really nice because the passengers will spot it themselves, or they'll come to you afterwards and they'll say, oh, it was really great, I got to see handover of an egg from one parent to the other. Or I got to see a chick chase later on in the season with the penguins. They have this great behaviour where they chase after each other to get food. It's always really fun when people engage and they've seen what you've talked about for themselves.
The shapes of the glaciers, the shapes of the mountains reflected in the water. It's a very graphic place. And I think part of that is because there's no trees or greenery or anything that distracts you from the absolute shape of the landscape.
Except for the penguins.
Yeah.
They are the funniest little animals that I have seen. They waddle, 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 flop, and they do face plants. You can sit there for hours and watch, and they just make you laugh.
Once the first landing is accomplished, they all get on board and the energy is so different. Suddenly there's lots of conversations, there's laughter, there's a longer lineup at the bar, they're wanting to celebrate. And it's literally having experienced that incredibly intense being at one with nature in Antarctica.
So hopefully everyone could see that okay. I'm just going to wrap up quickly talking about the different seasons, because that's always a question we encounter a lot. You know, what's the difference between going in November and January? So generally early season runs from November into early December. And this is really where I would say the feel of the deep Antarctica is you know, at its prime. You know, you have lots of pack ice and sea ice still, you know, there's pristine snow everywhere. In terms of the penguins, it's mating season. It's, you know, it's quite cute the way they, you know, they do their little courtship dances, or they collect, like here on the picture, they collect little rocks and, you know, build the nests, and it's just wonderful. And in terms of landscape photography, you know, you have very soft light. It's absolutely stunning. And all of us in the team always have a favorite time to go. And personally, for me, the early season is my absolute favorite. Also for, you know, South Georgia, for example, it's just, you know, because I love the little elephant seal pups and, you know, just the interaction you can have with them. So for me, the early season is my personal favorite. Now going into the high season, and let me just put this as a disclaimer. This image is South Georgia, and it literally looks like this: early season, high season, and late season. So, you know, it's not reflective of, you know, high season. This is really, South Georgia is the biggest wildlife zoo on this planet. It is so special. And again, if people have time and if they have the extra money, I would always encourage them to go for this longer itinerary. You know, I mean, obviously Falklands, it's a birder's paradise. You have albatross colonies, but then it's South Georgia with, you know, just, you know, wildlife you cannot imagine anywhere else. Like in one picture, you know, like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of penguins, and the whole beach is full of you know, seals and elephant seals, and it's just, it's out of this world, really. So, you know, that is just as a sort of side note. But high season in general means a little warmer temperature. So I would say around 0 Celsius, more daylight, between 20 and 24 hours. Actually, sometimes we don't have any sunset at all, which also means that, you know, some of the excursions will take a little bit longer because we don't have any time pressure to really come back to the ship. Penguin chicks in Antarctica, that's when they sort of hatch. So you have these cute little chicks. Usually that happens around Christmas time, and lots of people are keen to see that. And seal activity at that time also increases again, you know, these elephant bulls fighting. I mean, you know, when you're just, you know, I don't know, 20 meters away, it's incredible. It's absolutely, you know, you feel like you're in a Nat Geo film, you know, so it's wonderful. And then late season, sort of, we classify it from, you know, February, mid-February onwards. It goes, usually we don't run trips beyond mid-March. So this is where the whales shine. I mean, you know, and it's incredible because everyone always says, I want to go for the penguins, but it's, if you have a humpback whale, like the size of a large bus, surfacing next to you when you're in a Zodiac, I have never seen so many people cry. And it's just so emotional, you know, to get so close to these people, to these gigantic animals. So humpback whales, orcas, minkies, this is the time to go. And you still have penguins, of course. Actually, they look like this. They have these funny little you know, hairdos. Obviously, they're you know, getting ready to leave the nest. They're becoming waterproof, so to speak. So it's just hilarious, and they're super curious. They come up to people, so it's a great time for that. Like I said before, the circle crossing trip happens in this later part of the season because you have less ice further south. So we can explore, you know, bays and channels that are just further south, which is, you know, great. You don't see any ships, never, ever, ever during that time. So that's great. And again, you know, very similar to the early part of the season, the sun is much lower in the sky. So for photography, I mean, this is the best, you know, sunrises and sunsets. In this beautiful part of the, you know, the world, it's magnificent. So I could literally talk for hours about this. I will stop now. I'm open for questions. If you have any, like Gareth said, I'm happy to do a one-on-one if somebody wants to know, you know, logistics of the, you know, of camping or kayaking or something like that, or, you know, just wants to have a one-on-one. I'm super available and always happy to talk about anything Antarctica related. So I'll open the floor to questions if you have any.
I don't know if you can see the question, Connie, from Zoe, but I can answer it for you, Zoe, that we will be making the recording available on on our YouTube channel at Senderos, the usual place, where we have all the webinar recordings. I have to say, I hope the technical side worked. We spent quite a while setting it all up. It was all fine. And of course, now during the presentation, I've got some black blocks on my screen. I hope you haven't had them as well. But anyway, we will sort that out if need be and put a new recording just with the material on our website if you've had problems with your screen like I have.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback, Zoe and Sina. Maggie, yes, so we have various different videos. This was just one. There's, you know, wonderful little video resources, so I can send you the link, you can download it, and yes, absolutely put it up on your website. Yes, everyone should go.
Okay, so if that's it, if there are no more questions, I'll just, and thanks for the lovely feedback, just to let you know that next Thursday, my colleague Nicola will resume proceedings and she will be presenting our partner Estancia Cristina in Los Glaciares National Park in Argentine, Patagonia. So it will be great if you would sign up for that or join her for that. Otherwise, thanks very much for taking part today. We hope it's been useful.
Yeah, thank you from my side.
And many thanks
and
to
let's
Connie
all
as well.
Connect.
Here we are, everybody.
Perfect. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.